I'm not making any money talking these days. Good Christ. I'm a dick, folks. I'm not gonna lie to you. Still am. I guess I am a decent guy because I'm a fucking jerk, and I'm not a jerk. Apparently, I'm a dick. I'm not an awful guy, but I've done so much ridiculous stuff. I'm an awful guy.
Hey, what's happening? Mike Schmidt, 40-year-old podcast. No, wait.
Oh, you can't even handle that.
This is why I don't.
They're like, get her a mic. Everybody said, get her a mic. I get her a mic. She blows the first fucking line. Honestly, I go, you say it. If you're going to, I said, I'll talk to you in the beginning, and you go ahead and bust out the opening, and that will make everybody just go, oh, what's happening? And you chili dip the opening. Nicely done.
What do you want from me?
I'd like you to get 6 words correct. I'd like you to possibly string together one sentence.
40-year-old boy podcast.
Yeah.
See, what confused me was saying that I was Mike Schmidt. I couldn't do that.
Oh, man, you are a dolt. All right. Hey, everybody. What's happening? 40-year-old boy podcast. Your friend Mike Schmidt here with his friend Lily Von Stupp on microphone because it's show 30 and you folks deserve something special.
Yeah.
That's what you need. So she's going to be on microphone for 2 minutes and then she's going to crawl back into her producer hole. So I'm recording this on a Saturday because I'm going. By the time you hear this, I will be in Las Vegas, folks, and I will be entertaining the masses. And by the masses, I mean nobody. Nobody will be enjoying me. They'll be sitting through me, waiting to see the very funny John Fish and Russ Rivas. But up until then, they'll have to sit through me talking about slot machine. I should just do my Vegas set, the material from Vegas. Just, oh, man, I love going to Vegas, folks. What if I did? That would be horrendous. Never mind. Boring.
Do it.
No. Lily.
I'm trying to get you to do sets from 1996. Who are you kidding?
You know what? Yeah, I was going, because I have a book, and I brought it. It's got like a bunch of old set lists from days gone by as I bored the people in Peoria and Grand Rapids with material. And I'm reading it out loud to Lily, and she's going, you got to do that. And I'm like, what do you mean I got to do that? Is this just a way to keep you off mic? Like, it's more stuff for me to yammer about? Because I don't know why anybody in their right mind would want to hear me doing bits about Clinton. No, I don't think that's what anybody's clamoring for.
I disagree. Don't you? When you go back and you listen to an old CD from Bill Cosby where he's doing, Why Is There Air? Or you go back and you listen to some Sam Kinison. Yeah, it's dated, but it's still funny.
Okay, but here's the difference. Those were recorded in front of a live audience when they were actually doing the set list. This is me doing a fucking fireside chat reading old set lists out of a book with you giggling like a ninny. And everybody's going to be like, wow, that doesn't recreate the club experience at all. Although actually it does because it's me talking and one person laughing. That is absolutely the club experience as far as I remember it. And that's why I talk in headphones in a kitchen.
Okay.
But, yeah, so I threw you on microphone because I keep getting email from people, and they're like, let Lily my favorite is give your lady friend a mic. Do you even listen to the show? I use your name. Every minute I use your name.
I like lady friend.
Give your lady friend a mic. I do too, actually. It's like I picture like you and I walked here, and I threw my coat over puddles for you to walk in, and I held your parasol as we walked inside.
You actually did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Get your lady friend a mic. That's gorgeous. But Lily is on here because we are going to plug a show that's coming up. I usually do this at the end of the show, but what the hell? I'll do it in the beginning of the show now for no good reason. We're going to be doing a burlesque show, and by we I mean she. I'm hosting it. So I'll be out there, I'll be boring people between tits. But why don't you go ahead and give the wherewithal and the what, who, and the who's its and all that about where it is and all that kind of stuff.
We are at the 3 of Clubs every Monday at, 1 something Vine at Santa Monica.
Wow.
I don't know the address. That's
How do
terrible.
You not? You don't have a flyer handy or
Probably
something?
not. No.
All right. Well,
it's at Santa Monica and Vine. MondayNightTees.com has all of the information about the show. But the show is called We Don't Need Another Hero, the Villains Edition.
Mm-hmm.
And it is basically because someone I care about very much is now a villain on Heroes. And
Right.
so we're doing a live screening of the Heroes show at 9 p.m. And then immediately following it, we're going to be having the villain burlesque strip off,
Yes.
which is awesome. We've got the Wicked Witch of the West.
Yes.
We have uh, Ursula the Sea Witch
Who's that?
from Disney, from
From Little Mermaid?
area. Yeah.
That big, like,
Yeah.
burly linebacker chick?
Yeah.
Who's doing
Dizzy
that?
Von Dam.
Oh, all right. Well, that.
Yeah.
All right, folks. I can vouch. Then,
Yeah.
yeah. Dizzy's hot.
Who else do we have? We've got Shelby Belfast Jones, who is going to be doing Poison Ivy, which is fabulous because she does this great trick with magnets, and it like makes you feel like you got to see it. I don't want to spoil it.
Tell them they have to see it.
You have to see it. It's October 20th, 3 at clubs. Again, just go to MondayNightTees.com. You can get all the details there. But there'll be 8 chicks taking their tops off, and Schmitty will be hosting, which I love.
Sure.
He always laughs at me because I always say he is my most requested host.
Which is true, and yet I will host once every 5 months. She will say I'm her most requested host, and then I will go to the show 3 weeks in a row, and she's hosting, telling knock-knock jokes. I'm like, really? I guess these people must have been clamoring for my appearance if you're here wasting their time.
I can't meet your minimum every week.
Well, look, who can? I mean, I've got to make it up on the back end somehow since I'm here doing this for free, as we're into show 30 with everybody subscribing and not subscribing. All right, well that's that. So we're all plugged.
All right.
I guess so. Please come on out to the Monday Night Teas and the at the burlesque thing. Where are you going? What are you? Oh,
I just wanted to say thank you very much, Schmitty, for giving me a mic. I think it's really nice of you, and I really do appreciate it. And thank you.
Oh, gone. That worked out nice. So yeah, folks, everybody come on out to the Monday Night Teas show on October 20th. Is it the 20th? Yeah, it's a Monday night. So come on and check that out. That'll be fun. And I'm in Vegas right now. Actually, I'm not. Like, I mean, we know I'm not in Vegas, but all right, let's put it this way. When you'll hear this, it'll be the future from now. So I'd like, we can predict all the stuff that's going to happen, but I don't want to do that. I'm sure the economy will have straightened out by the time you hear this. It's Saturday, so things are a little grim. I'm finding out that my wife lost $4,000 last week in her 401k, and my mom and my stepdad lost $7,000. So I'm down. We're down $11,000, and by we I mean they, because comedy doesn't have a 401k. I got to be honest with you, it doesn't. I've invested all of my money in sushi, and I think that'll give you an idea of just how much I've got, because sushi doesn't keep. In the parlance of people who live in Indiana, sushi doesn't keep. I don't know if it's just Indiana that says that, but I'm just, in the parlance of real people, that doesn't keep. It'll spoil. Spurl? I don't know. So there you go. That's what's happening. So I'm in Vegas now. I'm not, but I am. It's weird. It's like a bait and switch. Today I'm in a kitchen, but I mean, when you hear this, I will be in Vegas, eating at the employee dining room downstairs. It's funny when you go to a casino, folks. It's like it's fun and it's all glamorous in the casino, but if you go through 3 doors, all of a sudden you're in the most depressing place you've been in the history of the world. There's like an employee dining room, and then it's just all of them are talking about what's going to happen, especially 10 minutes already? Just doesn't seem like it. Time flies by when you're talking to your lady friend. But because casinos are like cities. I mean, on the surface and stuff, you see all the glitz and all that stuff. But then you go on downstairs, and you're you're eating with blackjack dealers who are smoking. I mean, it's just death. You're like eating soft serve ice cream with housekeepers. Oh my Christ, it's horrendous. So, but it's nice. It's wonderful that they feed you, and it's wonderful that they do that, and you become part of their little family for the week. But still, it doesn't mean that they accept you in any way, because you go downstairs and they give you this weird look because you're dressed normally. You don't have to wear a monkey suit. I'm Comedy Joe. I can wear my regular clothes, and then I go downstairs and there's people in aprons and bow ties and chimp with a hat on. I mean, all the acts are there from the special shows in the lounge. Someone will come down in spangly pants and have a sandwich, and it's just this weird place where dreams go to die. It's not really. I shouldn't say that. I'm never working Vegas again. I'm glad I'm doing this now and then I'm going to Vegas because if I did this and then they could hear it in Vegas, I would be fired in midstream somehow. But luckily I'm launching this scud in the middle of the week, so at least I'll get a half week. I'll get a half week of work in at the lovely casino, the Riviera Casino, folks. Make sure you come out and see me and John Fish and Russ Rivas, who are right now sitting in kitchens doing podcasts across America to hype their show. So maybe the three of us can have a superpower. Maybe we can do it in the Riviera's kitchen. Oh boy, would that be depressing? Just three dudes. If I think I get weird looks now walking into the little employee dining room, imagine what it would be like if I started doing a podcast from there. I tried to get Lily to drive to Vegas to come out there, but I was told no. She's very busy with her dancing and her dressing up, and as much as she loves Vegas and poker, and as much as the Rio loves having her, unfortunately, there was nothing that I could do to convince her, so that I have to do this on a Saturday. And I'm beat. I'm tired. We've already stopped like 3 times because I've yawned. I've yawned within the and I didn't want to like yawn and bore you with it. I'd rather bore you with words. I'd rather bore you with what I have to say rather than some sort of physiological reaction to what I say. So I've just been yawning like an idiot. And it's funny, talking about it now, I can feel it. I'm going to yawn, and I know I'm going to yawn. And I don't know. If I do yawn again, I'll just let it go through because I've already blown the lid off of yawning. Which is that's from Broadcast News. You've blown the lid off Nookie. It's very Albert Brooks. I've blown the lid off yawning right here. I've done that. Me and my lady friend. Now I have to think of a song that has "Lady Friend" in it at the end, like to close out the podcast. I don't know, folks. The music is a very important part of this podcast. I will often go and I have to pour through. Last week, I used the Baseball Furies as my closing thing, the chase from the Warriors, because I was talking about the Phillies. By the way, Phillies, as I speak, Phillies up 2-0, folks. I can only hope that by the middle of the week it's over or something has happened. Tomorrow they're here in Los Angeles, Sunday, and I think I'm going to go. I don't know if that's a good idea as I wear my Mike Schmidt jersey and wind up brawling with every Hispanic within a 75-mile radius. I'm not sure. My buddy and I are probably going to go, but the good news is the prices are dropping for tickets on Craigslist because they're down 2-0. So this town is all about a winner. If they were up 2-0, forget about it. Everybody would be going crazy. Now that they're down 2-0, everybody's like, well, I like Manny, but I don't know if I want to spend the money. Right. Well, good. Just give it to me. Me and my Mike Schmidt jersey will show up and have a hot dog thrown at us. That's happened there. I've had just nightmarish things happen not bad at Dodger Stadium. I got in the fight in Anaheim Stadium, Angel Stadium. I don't know what it's called. The Big A. That's where I got into a fight. I got into the Big F at the Big A, and the cop said "F you." And it's funny in Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's playing in the playoffs this week, and you know what they gave out? Rally bells. They're like little cowbells and stuff. And so I mean that's just obviously the people in Tampa Bay don't listen to this show. That's the one market that I haven't cornered. I got people in Pakistan, I got people in Ireland, but Tampa Bay, sorry, we're holding out. Not and who can blame them? They've got the Buccaneers and the Devil Rays. No, the Rays. I'm an idiot. Now I owe money. There's a thing. I go to a baseball nerd site. Whenever anybody says Devil Rays, they have to pay like $1 to charity. And now I have to send $1 to UNICEF because I said Devil Rays. Jerk. But they had little rally cowbells. So and then the Red Sox went in there last night and stomped them. And so I can imagine that the bells got flung. I can imagine that the bells got flung. That sounded like a song, like a line from a song. A very good song. My lady friend does not approve. But Dodger Stadium has always been just a verbal nonsense. I haven't had any sort of fisticuffs there. I went and saw the Phillies a couple of years ago. This is before pre-surgery. This is Giant Mike. I'm in the upper deck, and Jim Tomei hit a home run, and I was up clapping. And a guy, I got sit the fuck down, fat ass. I got that nonsense. And then you turn around and you face everybody like, really? Who said it? And who wants to say it again? Like that kind of thing. And I was with Pardo, and Pardo's just like, sit down. Like, it's, Pardo's not going to want to get to a brawl. Pardo and I were at Comiskey Park once. No, we were at the Cell. But it wasn't the Cell. It was the new Comiskey Park. What was it called? Well, because after they closed Comiskey Park, they built the Cell, but it wasn't the Cell at the time. I'm trying to remember what it was. I think it was just like White Sox Park. I forget what they called it. But Jimmy and I were there, and this is when Jimmy was he would knock a few back. This is in Christ, what is this, 96? Yeah. And he was just getting mouthy to some guy, and like really mouthy. And all of a sudden, I'm like, dude, I go, are we gonna have to jam here? Because if we, I mean, I had his back and stuff, but it was funny because this is way early in our relationship. Like I didn't know Jimmy all that well back then, but I knew enough that I was gonna take a guy out for him at a ballpark. I didn't care about that. But Jimmy, he was in an argument with some fan about something, and it was about radio, like about Steve Dahl. I forget that. Jesus, it was just this weird argument, and it just kept escalating. And finally, I had to, I'm just standing there. I was ready to drop the guy if I had to, as Jimmy and I started our Of Mice and Men relationship, where he would be George, and I would be just Lenny breaking rabbits' necks and punching guys at ballparks. And he would be the smart, funny one who tried to keep me in fucking line. As I drink Propel on the air. I don't usually do that. Again, it's a Saturday show, folks. Very relaxed. We already had the lady in front of the mic. I'm yawning. I'm drinking beverage right on the microphone. So it feels like an unplugged show for some reason. It feels very stand down. Because usually there's a week in between, and in that week I get to generate material. But now, with 2 days or whatever in between, I've done fuck all. So, I mean, I got nothing. We went to quarantine last night. I can tell you that. We went and saw Quarantine. And by went and saw Quarantine, I meant we went and sat in the theater playing Quarantine. I could not look at the screen because I would have thrown up all over the floor. It's so funny. I should have learned my lesson. People saw Blair Witch and they got sick. Okay? Well, I saw Blair Witch in the theater and I loved it. And I did not get sick. Blair Witch still to this day, the single biggest split I've ever seen in an audience. I've never seen an audience split more on a movie. I would say a third to a half of the people fucking hated it. I mean, to the point where they were lighting torches and about to chase the projectionist like he was fucking Frankenstein. I mean, like they were furious. They felt bamboozled and fooled, and they felt cheated. Literally for them, Johnny Rotten should have just walked out at the end of the movie and said, "Ever feel like you've been cheated?" and walked off. That's how pissed off they were at the Blair Witch Project. Meanwhile, the rest of the theater, frozen solid from fear. There was a woman hyperventilating, couldn't move. They had to help her. She's like, head between the knees and the whole, breathe, breathe, breathe. It was really, I loved it. I mean, I really dug it. And the thing is, I saw it. It opened in L.A. and New York like 2 weeks before it opened nationwide. So here in L.A., I had to buy tickets 3 days in advance to see it because of the buzz from it. And there was a line around the block at the New Art because it was only playing at the New Art Theater, which is this fancy pants theater down in Santa Monica. And you'd go to buy tickets, and there would be like it was like the Depression. There's handwritten signs in the box office: "Come back at 1:30." Still printing tickets. I mean, like, just awful. It was crazy how popular it was. So when I finally got in to see it, I loved it, man. I was really into it, and I knew the mythology a little bit. I mean, I knew it wasn't real because obviously it wouldn't be real because you wouldn't make a movie out of it if that's the thing that made me pissed off about people is they were like, "Oh my God, it's real." Well, I mean, really, it's not real. It's fun to imagine that it's real, but we all know that it's not real. And you know what else is real? Me using the word real 100 times in 5 seconds. I'm going to say that's really, really real. But Blair Witch, man, there were people walking out at the time, and they were so fucking furious. They actually thought, these people, I heard them when they were leaving, there was another horror movie that came out that year around the same time that summer, and it was a movie that Owen Wilson was in, and they stayed in a haunted house. I can't even remember what the hell it was. It was like there was an experiment, and a bunch of people stayed in a house, and then like ghostly shit happened, and someone hit their head in a fireplace. I only remember it vaguely. But I know that some people, I remember it being very bad, and these people were walking up like, "Man, this movie was bullshit. That other movie was much scarier." And I wanted to fucking slap these guys. You are so wrong. This movie is, dude, I don't care if you hated every second of Blair Witch other than the last 2 minutes. The last 2 minutes has to put you in your fucking place because it was awesome. When fucking running around, the shot of him standing in the corner at the end. Spoiler alert. By the way, a little late. But the final shot of the movie, and then the sound effect they used to wipe to the credits. Oh man, I mean, just people frozen in the theater. This woman, again, there were people who couldn't breathe. They were so fucking scared. It was great. Quarantine, not so much. There were people who couldn't breathe, but it had nothing to do with the plot of the film. It had to do with the fact that the whole thing is filmed with one camera, and it's being held by an epileptic using one of those old school weight belt machines. It is the shakiest fucking movie I've ever seen. It is just, it literally, it looks like, hey, someone gave a camera to Muhammad Ali and said, go film in a house. It's just fucking, literally, it's the Michael J. Fox story as filmed by Muhammad Ali. It's that fucking bad. And it's not, again, the plot itself is fine. This happened to me with Cloverfield, okay? We went and saw Cloverfield, and it's the same deal, where it's one dude holding the camera, and this movie is essentially a shot-for-shot remake of Cloverfield, but with human monsters instead of monsters. And but I will say this: this movie to me much better than Cloverfield. And my lady friend not in agreement. She didn't enjoy it, and our other friend that we went with did not like it either. But I will tell you that I couldn't watch the movie. See, maybe I'm not the best judge because honestly, I'm not kidding. This movie's about an hour and 30 minutes. I got to watch 30 minutes of it. Like I saw 30 minutes of video, and the rest of the time I had my eyes closed and my hands crossed, in front of my mouth to make sure I didn't projectile vomit on the people sitting in front of us. But for what it's trying to be, for a scary movie like that's dealing with scary stuff, I thought it was perfect. I thought there was a lot of cool stuff and a lot of fun camera stuff that happened, even though it's the shakiest fucking movie ever. But because Cloverfield, dude, when I saw Cloverfield, they had signs in the box office that said, "Warning, you're gonna throw up." Basically, it was like those susceptible to motion sickness need blah blah blah. And when I saw Cloverfield, somebody did throw up in the theater when I was there seeing it, which is always a joy. I can't tell you the sound of retching in the dark, what that does for you and your popcorn consumption. And actually, that's a movie I would like to make, Retching in the Dark. That sounds like a great film. That's what Quarantine should have been called, Retching in the Dark. But I honestly, I want to see it again, Quarantine. I want to rent it or something, or maybe see it from a distance. I don't know what would be able to take the edge off for me. Because I have this weird inner ear thing, man. I'm half a fucking girl because I can't, like, my mom plays first person shooters. My mom plays Doom and Halo and all that. I can't watch it. I get sick. That's what I first realized. No, you know what? When I first fucking realized it, I saw Speed. Remember Speed? With hey Hotshot, Pop Quiz, and Keanu Reeves and Dennis Hopper. Why am I asking? You're nodding. This is great. You don't even have a microphone anymore, and you're just like, yeah, I saw Speed, absolutely. I remember that film. But during Speed, I got sick because there's like a scene where they're running around with the camera and all that, and I remember going, whoa, what's happening here? I'm about to vomit. And it had nothing to do with Keanu, surprisingly. But Keanu's a nice guy. Did I ever tell you I met Keanu? I told you that story. When I was bouncing at the House of Blues, Keanu's band played there. And yes, I did put up air quotes when I said band. Keanu's band showed up. And by that, it's like Keanu and three of his buddies. And they're happy to jerk off and play instruments because everybody comes to see Keanu and scream. And this is at the height of Keanu-ness. No, it's not. It's about a year. It's about a year before Keanuology kicked in, because here's why I know. First of all, I had to protect Keanu. Like I had to be his guy who like walked around with him to make sure he didn't get jumped by chicks, because there were girls there who had flown in from Japan just to see Keanu's band because they loved Keanu so much, and they're sitting there with their Hello Kitty clothes on and their wide-eyed faces, just like, oh, Keanu, and we're trying to keep them, but Keanu, to his credit, really cool guy, really friendly, really nice. At the House of Blues, the dressing rooms were upstairs, so after the band finished playing, he's upstairs and he's actually in the hallway, which was a drag for security because we're like, dude, could you just go in your dressing room because nobody's gonna leave until you leave. But he was having a good time. He was drinking and being friendly to people, and he was a nice man, nice to us, really cool. There was something off about him, and I couldn't place it. I'm just like, there's something weird about this guy. I'm trying to figure out what it is because I have to stand next to him the entire time and make sure nobody hassles him or grabs him. He's very friendly and greeting people and signing as many autographs as he could, but he's also trying to drink with his friends and have a good time. But I'm standing next to him the whole time. He's real friendly and cool, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong with him. Finally, after about an hour, it dawns on me, he doesn't have any eyebrows. And that's what it was. It was freaking me out. I'm like, there's something weird here. There's something fucking weird going on. And finally it dawned. I don't even know why. All of a sudden I looked and I went, he doesn't have any goddamn eyebrows. Completely gone. Smooth head. Like his eyebrow. He's got hair, but his eyebrows are gone. And then, of course, 6 months later, the fucking Matrix comes out. And it's the scene where he pops out of the pod and he doesn't have any goddamn eyebrows. And I'm like, that's why he didn't have eyebrows. For 6 months, I just thought he was the fucking weirdest dude I'd ever met. I'm like, who the hell shaves their eyebrows? What is that plan? Is that how, like, the depths of your celebrity? You're like, fuck, what am I going to do? God damn it, just shave my eyebrows off, honestly. Cut them off right now, shear them, shorn them, whatever you got to do. Put my head in a big-ass pencil sharpener and take it to a point. I want everything going off my head because I'm famous. Or did you just wake up and they were pissing him off one day? I used to do a joke in my act about, I don't drink, but I have drunk. You ever get so drunk you build a doghouse? And you don't even have a dog. Just that coffee table has been looking at you funny for like 3 hours. Come on, folks. That's a little taste of what you won't be seeing in Vegas. That's old school Mike. That's Mike from the 90s. Take that. Speaking of the 90s and the 80s and things. Oh, what was I talking? Keanu. I was talking about he had his eyebrows shaved. What the hell was it? There was something I had. God damn it. And now in a week I'm going to hear this in Vegas and go, fuck! Oh, man. He had no eyebrows. And then he was the Matrix. Son of a bitch. I had it. Why did I go off in the doghouse? Drunk? What was it? Fuck, I wish I could yawn. If I could yawn, I could stop everything and go back and listen. And now I forgot where I was going to go with that. Oh, the 90s, 80s. Here's the thing. Folks, I like a Jonas Brothers song. And I don't just like it. I fucking love it. I can't. And it's like, I don't know what's wrong with me. It's so funny because I made a joke a few weeks ago, like about how I don't get modern music. But I do. I mean, I like, I love Kings of Leon and My Morning Jacket and a lot of, bands. And, we bought the MIA. I bought that album. And, a lot of stuff I like. But then, I make fun of me because, the Jonas Brothers is retarded and you see. But then I hear this Jonas Brothers song on the radio and I'm like, oh my God, is that song awesome. It's a song called Love Bug, which is really great. And then at the end of it, they have a shout out to Van Halen. How do I not just meet the Jonas Brothers and hug them collectively? How do I not just do that? They like Van Halen. Me and the Jonas Brothers have something in common. And it's so funny when I'm listening to the song and I'm like, oh, the fucking Jonas Brothers. And then I love it. And then I'm going, well, we can make fun of all the, music today that we want. You hear Fall Out Boy or you hear, TV on the radio, which are all great, because I bought those albums too. But then you can make fun of it because you're just like, whatever. But then, do me a favor, go and just put on your iPod and then listen to Mr. Roboto and go, oh, wow, what the fuck am I making fun of anybody for? Why have I even thought to make fun of one person? Jesus Christ. You hear songs that you used to listen to I Ran by the Flock of Seagulls. A flock of seagulls. That's in your iPod, folks. All of you, collectively. Enjoy it. Suck it. Take that. Defend any of your music. I dare you. It's great. There's a show here at the UCB Theater on, I think it's once a month. And what they do is you bring your iPod in, and they take your iPod, and then they improvise shows off of the songs that come up. And I just think sitting in the audience as someone went through your iPod would be the most mortifying experience of your life. The worst, you know what? I used to have, like I said, I used to have 1 billion cassettes. This is the worst ever destruction of me that I can imagine. I'm sitting there because, you get cassettes. And when I used to do, stand up on the road, we would do radio spots. So we would have to promote the show. And the best thing about doing those is at the end, they'd go, hey, you guys want to raid the prize closet? Yes, we do. I really need a Frisbee with Knight Rider's picture on it. So they would have, a bunch of swag and stuff that would be awful, and it would just be bad swag. But then they would have all the new releases, and they would have cassette tapes, and you would just grab, literally, you would just start grabbing cassette tapes. You wouldn't even look at what they were, and you would grab them. This is how I accumulated as many tapes and stuff that I did. So I'm grabbing a billion tapes and I'm bringing them home. I'm not even caring. And then I'm very fastidious, so I start putting them in alphabetical order. And then I have these long like shelves with everything in alphabetical, whatever. So my friends come over one day, and this is when I just moved in with Karen, and Karen made shells, like stuffed shells. Oh my God, Karen used to cook. Uh, she doesn't now. But the thing is, she can still cook, but she doesn't. You know why? Because she has a job. That's why she doesn't fucking cook. And guess who's home all day going, I wish my wife would come home and cook me dinner. Me. Hey, fat ass, why don't you cook a dinner? You dick. Karen will get home from work at like 6:30, 7 o'clock, and then we inevitably we go out to eat because I'm not going to make a meal. I'll make a sandwich. I'll be like, hey, you want a sandwich? No, I don't want a sandwich. I want a goddamn dinner, you dick. Whatever. I'm an awful person. So Karen can cook. She cooks her ass off, and she makes stuffed shells, which are like ricotta. And I mean, oh my God, I just seriously, I just want to jerk off. So they're so good. So that my wife is such a good cook that I couldn't wait to invite my friends over for her to cook for them, to like show off. I don't know if you've got like that kind of thing happening where you just first start dating somebody or you're with somebody, and then they're good at something, and you're like, man, I wish I could get my friends involved, which doesn't work so good with sex. I'm going to be honest with you. It's like, you're like, wow, you're really good at that. I can't wait to get my friends over here. No, that make sure it's cooking or something good like that. So Karen says, I'll make dinner, and she made stuffed shells and tiramisu, homemade tiramisu. She was going to make dinner for my friends. So whatever. They all come over, and we're watching playoff basketball. This was the day that Reggie Miller scored 8 points in like 6 seconds against the Knicks. It was awesome. He hit a three, and then he stole the inbounds and hit a three, and then he stole the inbounds and got fouled and hit 2 free throws. It was fucking insane. My friends and I were going bananas because this is at the height of the Bulls, and so we would all constantly. My buddies Jeff and Max and everybody would all get together and watch hoop. So they're over. My wife's cooking, and we're sitting in the living room watching basketball, and my friend Jeff goes to use the restroom, and then he walks out and he kind of like looks at the cassette tapes. He looked at them on his way into the bathroom. So and then on his way, I didn't even think of it. He comes walking out and he looks at the tapes and he goes, "Hey, Mike, can I borrow your Chunky A album?" Now, if you don't know who Chunky A was Arsenio Hall in a fat suit rapping. And I don't think I ever played it. It just happened to be one of those things I scooped up out of the prize closet. But it doesn't matter. In front of like 9 of your boys, when someone drops the Chunky A bomb on you, there's nothing you can do but just grimace. Just go, yeah. And then, of course, for the next 3 hours, everybody's like, Chunky A? Seriously? You bought that album? I didn't buy it. My job lends me the opportunity to get free things, and one of them was the Chunky A album. Schmitty, can I borrow your Chunky A album? Seriously, I've been looking to get a hold of this. Oh, my God, take it. You know what? Do me a favor. Just give it to me. Did you really want to borrow it? Because if you do, you can take it. But if not, give it to me. I'm going to unspool it and hang myself with it. It was so funny. I didn't even purchase it. I got it free, but it didn't matter. I felt so weirdly humiliated by my friend dropping the Chunky A-bomb on me. Oh, my God, was that awful. Just a destruction to get hammered. And it's so funny. Even now, talking about Chunky A, I'm like blushing. Like I don't. You get the weirdest things trigger shit in your head. You know what I mean? Like that, because it means nothing. But it's something I remember to this day. Like the worst lie I've ever told. When I was a kid, we were playing by the train tracks. We weren't supposed to be playing by the train tracks, but we played by the train tracks. So the train came, and we were like, ha ha, and what you do is you run away when the train comes, and, you put a penny on the track, or you don't want to get shot with a zip gun. That was the big thing. It was like the guy on the train had a zip gun. It was like an air gun, and you didn't want to get shot with a zip gun. But you wanted to be by the train. This is the weird dichotomy of being 8 years old in Chicago. So we're playing by the train tracks, and it's like, yeah, hey, here comes the train, and we run down the hill, and as we run, I slip, and I start kind of tumbling down the hill, and I get up, and I have a huge cut. Like I've got a gash on my ankle, like this really long, and it's bleeding. It's gushing blood. So, and as a kid, when you see your own blood, you all of a sudden you're like, oh, I must be really hurt. Even, normally as an adult you'd go, wow, I got to get that taken care of. But as a kid, you start limping and dragging your foot, and you're, all of a sudden I'm Mr. George's from last week. So I'm trying to get home, and we're trying to think of a story because we're not supposed to be by the train tracks. And we're going home, and it was Lenny, of course, Lenny and I. And we were with Johnny Grants. Johnny Grants was a kid. This is when I lived in Chicago. This is pre any, any real adolescence, because this was in Chicago when I didn't know anybody. So we're at the Grants' house, Johnny Grants and his brother, and we're trying to figure out a story. And we're like, all right, just say you were in Johnny Grants' backyard and you fell. And I said, okay, I'll say I was in Johnny Grants' backyard and you fell. And that's cool. We're all square with that? We're all square. Good. So we go to the hospital, and they see the cut, and they're like, what happened? I go, I was at Johnny Grants' house, and I was walking like trying to do a heel-toe walk on wood, on like a wooden beam, and I fell. They go, was there a nail in that? And I go, and now I'm panicked because that's not part of the story. I don't know if that's part of the story. I know the other guys don't know if that's part of the story. And they're off in another room sequestered discussing whatever they're going to discuss. And I go, no. They go, so you just fell down and wound up with a huge gash on your leg? Yes, absolutely. Can we just go ahead and clean it now because I'm 7 and scared? Okay. Then all of a sudden they come in, and in the other room, my brother Lenny, we were by the train tracks and Mike cut his foot open. My brother is a sap. That was the beginning of him with the sellouts and the getting crushed under pressure. He's not good at getting questioned at all. He just gives it up. He's like those guys in the old gangster movies who would just be like, they would turn state's evidence and wind up dead. But his state's evidence was always like really minor, so he never wound up dead. Yeah, so that's a weird detour. So, what was I talking about? Keanu and getting sick? Yeah, I would get sick at movies, man. I got sick last night, and my mom would play Halo, and I was watching that, and I would start sweating, and I'd be like, man, what's going on? I can't, it's just like an inner ear thing. I can't do it. I'm a woman. All right, so, yeah. And yes, please, women write me and complain that you don't have inner ear things and you're tougher than me. Because you probably are. Who the fuck knows? I don't know. Speaking of tough women, I went to the movie again. We went to see Rock and Rolla, the Guy Ritchie movie a couple nights ago. Yeah, here's what happened. We go to the ArcLight, and I paid extra at the ArcLight so I can enjoy a film in the company of adults. So we pay for the movie, and it's just Karen and I. We go walking to our seats. There's 4 people in our seats, and the theater's not even full. So I don't know what the box office was for Rock and Rolla, but I can tell you it couldn't be good because we went the second night and it wasn't full, which was like that's a death knell for like an independent type movie. But these 4 people, and we said, hey guys, you're in our seats. And they're like, oh, okay, and they're very nice and pleasant, but they were also like Beavis and Butthead and their girlfriends, if Beavis and Butthead ever had girlfriends. But they did. There was actually it might have been a girl. It was 2 guys and a girl, and then a question mark. I don't know if this was a woman or a dude. Or a him her. I have no idea what it was. A he she. I got no clue. It was just frightening. It was just bad choppers, and all I saw was popcorn and hair. It was bad. So I didn't know if it was a dude or not. I couldn't tell by the body, or it was just awful. So they get up, they're very pleasant, and they leave us our seats, and they move down to their seats, which are much further down our row. So Karen and I are sitting there, and Karen's underneath her tray of popcorn and soda. And so she's in lockdown. When my wife sits in the movies, it's like, boom, she can't move because she's got the tray on her lap, and then that's it. So the lights go down for the movie, and these people hop the row and then come and sit directly in front of us, which I don't care. Who cares? You want to sit wherever you want? I don't mind. So the coming attractions are playing, and they are talking loudly. I mean, they are conversing as if they are, they're actually talking to each other louder than normal so they can be heard over the movie. That kind of talking. And I'm going, all right, because my rule is I hate talking in a movie theater. But if you're going to talk during the coming attractions, I'm not going to punch you because we didn't really pay to see the coming attractions. However, when the movie starts, you are going to shut the fuck up or it's going to be very, very bad. There will be headbutts involved and possible gashing and blood. So I'm sitting there. They're in front, directly in front of us. And then the movie starts. Now, Rock and Rolla is filmed in England. And if you're familiar with Guy Ritchie, if you've seen Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, or you've seen Snatch, then you know that you don't understand a fucking word anybody's saying unless you're really listening to the goddamn movie. I mean, it's funny because there's a running joke in Snatch where Brad Pitt is a gypsy and you can't understand anything he's saying because he speaks so weirdly. He's like, like he talks like that. But with that movie, everybody might as well be talking like that. It just makes it strange when you listen to Brad Pitt. You're just like, oh, that he's the one who can't talk. Really? Because I don't understand a fucking word anybody's saying. So Rock and Rolla starts, And right from the jump, there's no real credits. There's credits, but there's people talking, and it sets up the story. Because again, if you've seen Guy Ritchie movies, you know that there's going to be 75 people trying to fuck one another over. So you have to find out why this guy does what he does, and this other guy does what he does, and then these guys get involved, and there's always like Tommy in the tank, and someone's getting eaten by pigs, and then, you know, like every British gangster movie, someone's going to get tortured in a weird way. But you got to pay attention. Movie starts, these dudes in front of us won't stop talking. And they're dumb. That I need to get that out of the way too. They are stupid. They're the kind of guys who, when they're watching the film, and like when a girl walks on the screen, they go woo like that. Like they like, oh look, a pretty girl is in a movie. What a novel enterprise! I can't believe they would cast an attractive woman in this film. What a shock! So like they start, and I let them go for about 2 minutes. Then, because the opening credits, once they slow down, there's like really loud music. They start speaking louder so they can hear each other over the music. And I lean forward, and it's funny, I got a clear shot. I could take their heads and just, bam, smash them together. Because one of them's got a ponytail down to his ass, and the other one's got a pretty good head of hair. So I could have just grabbed a couple of handfuls of hair and went, and just coconutted them, man, just fucking wham. But instead, I lean over, and very nicely I go, fellas, this is going to stop, right? Stupid me, I phrased it in the form of a question, so now they're confused. They don't know what's going on. If I would have just said, shut up, they probably would have got it. But I try to be nice on the first one. This happened earlier this summer with The Happening, when I leaned over to the guy and I go, hey, this isn't going to continue, right? It's kind of a nice way of saying, look, shut up, okay? So that's my initial salvo into the please be quiet arena. I lean forward on these two dudes, and I don't put my hands on their shoulders. A part of me wanted to. You know what I wanted to do? Like Flounder in Animal House, when he leans forward in the car, and he just goes, "Women, can't live with them, can't live without them." And he laughs, and they look at him like, "You're an idiot." Well, I wanted to lean forward and just put my hands on their shoulders and go, "Fellas, this isn't going to continue, right?" But I didn't touch them because I felt touching them would be a weird, at this point, would be a weird invitation to trouble. And so, because obviously, if they don't know enough to not speak in a film, then violating their personal space might be an invitation to jam. And it's like, I'm cool with that, but not yet. Let's ramp up to getting down. So I lean forward and I just go, hey, guys, this isn't going to continue, right? And they're like, what? And I go, you're really, really loud. I need to ask you to keep it down, okay? And they both said, okay, because the girls, the girl and the other thing, they're not talking. It's just the two dudes talking. And again, very Beavis and Butthead, like, like awful. So I lean back. Movie continues. More accents flying at us. There's a Scottish guy in it, and then there's like, all these Cockney dudes, and then there's a Russian guy. I'm not kidding you. In the very first 6 minutes, there's a Russian guy, a Scottish guy, and a bunch of English guys talking. You might as well just had a dog come out and start barking language. I mean, honestly, it's that much of a jumble. It's this fucking UN of movies, and you got to pay attention. So then, sure enough, I mean, like, not even 2 minutes goes by. They start talking and yelling and here's the thing. I apologize. I need to backtrack. The first time I said, this isn't going to continue, right? They go, oh, yeah, no problem. I lean back. Within 30 seconds, an usher comes up the steps and comes down to where they're sitting, because a guy had gone and gotten the usher. And the usher leans over. And this is what the usher, the crack usher at the ArcLight. Again, I love the ArcLight, but it's starting to slip. Because this guy comes up and he goes, guys, can you keep it down? And they go, oh, yeah. And the usher splits. He doesn't like ask for their tickets. He doesn't say, guys, you really need to be quiet or we'll remove you. There's no threat. And he just figures that, him having a name tag will keep them in line. And they're like, okay. So now I've told them, and the usher has told them. Within 2 minutes of the usher splitting, they start again. Woohoo, yeah. Oh, talking like you would in your living room if you were watching a film. And when I say that, I mean you would never talk in your living room while you were watching a film unless you hit pause, right? I mean, there's no reason to watch a movie if you're going to fucking yammer through it. It makes no sense. Plus, we all paid $14 to get into this movie. I mean, I don't know where Beavis and Butthead are getting their cash, but I mean, I don't know that they had that much to spare to drop it on a fucking convo during a film. So I'm sitting there. They keep talking. And I lean forward and I go, guys. And they look at me, huh? And I go, seriously, it's loud. It needs to stop. All right? And one of them goes, yeah. And I go, all right? to the other guy because I need an answer out of both of them at this point. And he goes, yeah, no problem. I go, fine, please. You're killing me. And I lean back. So the movie continues, and then there's a scene with Tandy Newton. And again, I'm only 15 minutes into this movie, folks. There's a scene with Tandy Newton, and she's talking to Gerard Butler, and he's Scottish, and she's hot and English. And they show her walk away, and as they show her walk away, they show her like really hot legs, like with they pan down and they show her shoes. So it's like it's a kind of an atmospheric shot where she click, clack, click. You hear her heels, and they go, whoa, yeah. They cheer for feet. Like all of a sudden they're both Tarantino, and they just can't get over the fact that a woman has legs. Like this awful. I mean, I wanted to, and I'm sitting there and I look at Karen because what I'm waiting for is basically Karen to take the leash off. You know what I mean? Because it's like I want to. And so when they do this, by the way, I should mention everybody looks at them. Like we're not the only people noticing this. There's the theater's about half full, but we're all kind of clustered in the middle. They all look at these guys like seriously, but nobody will say anything. I've said something twice. One usher. So I'm sitting there, and then they start talking again after the thing. They're like, blah, blah, blah. I mean, like I don't even know. And honestly, both Karen and I later discussed it. We thought they were retarded. Because they're speaking in gibberish. I mean, they're just, it's like, they sound, they all sound like Mushmouth from the fucking Bill Cosby cartoon. They're like, hey, bamamba, dibba yuba siba da feet da ba dibba. I'm like, dude, I don't get it. I want to fucking just, and again, I just want to box their ears or anything just to get their fucking attention. Or you know what, grab their ear or do that. There's a thing that I can't do. My friends could do it. If you have friends who can do it, they can take their fingers and put them by your ear and make like a vibrating sound or like I can't even explain it. But I've known people who can do it. It's like people who can whistle with their fingers in their mouth. I can't do it. And I've actually got like a step-by-step way of how to do it that I ripped out of a magazine once, and I've practiced it. I've actually practiced whistling with fingers in my mouth, and it has not happened. But boy, is that fun to watch. A guy practicing going, I can't do it. I want to do it. There's nothing more I'd like to elicit an ear-piercing whistle right in that guy's ear as he's sitting there talking about Tandy Newton's feet, but I can't do it. So I want to just, like I said, I want to grab their ear or just like, anything, just because it's something they'll understand, something like a parrot would understand. But because obviously shut up isn't cutting it. So I'm sitting there watching the movie, and I'm waiting I'm just going, all right. And then a guy gets up and leaves. And in my head I go, that guy's getting the usher. This is all going to be fine. The usher's going to come up, and then I'm going to go ahead and second the motion and get these people yanked. Well, as that guy leaves to go get the usher, we're sitting there, and I'm watching the movie, and they start talking again. And Karen goes, guys, will you shut up? That's how bad it is. My wife, who usually defers to me or looks to me to handle these situations, throws up her hands and just goes, you know what? Shut up. She wants them to shut up so bad. She's not even going to look at me. She's jumping into the fray. And immediately that triggers all of my weirdness of protecting my wife. And it's terrible, and it's me, and I know it's me, and it's a control thing, I'm sure. But I like to handle those situations because you know what? That's what a guy does. A guy handles that situation so his woman or his wife doesn't have to get involved. It's weird and it's antiquated thinking, but for some reason that's what's burned into my skull. So when my wife gets involved and tells them to shut up, and the guy turns around and says something to my wife, that's it. Gloves are off. So he turns around and he's like, "Hey, what are you saying?" And I lean forward. I immediately, and I go, "She's saying shut the fuck up." I've said it twice nicely. Now I'm saying it. Shut the fuck up. And I'm right in his face. And he looks at me and he just goes, "You got a problem?" And I go, "Yeah, I got a fucking problem. You won't shut the fuck up." And his friend is like, we're cool. And then I stand up, and I'm a row behind them, and I'm standing over them, and I'm looking because I'm waiting. I want this guy to get up and do it because the one guy is like scared. You can see he just backs off and he goes, "We're cool. It's cool. We're cool." And people are looking now because I was quiet and saying it through clenched teeth, but I think people felt it. And I'm holding the chair. I'm kind of white knuckling the chair, and then I stand up and I'm standing over him, and the guy goes, "Hey man, what's your problem?" And Karen goes, "This is where it breaks bad for me." Okay, Karen should have never said anything. She should have maybe tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, whatever. And also, I could have then said to her, if she would have looked at me, that guy's going to get the usher. Because I knew that guy left to get the usher. I knew he did. So the second I stand up, she goes, Michael, let's go. Because she's trying to get in the way of me hitting somebody. And I'm not going to hit them. I'm telling, I try to explain to her, I'm fine. If the guy, I'm not a maniac. If the guy takes a poke at me, he's going to get fucking broken. But other than that, I'm not going to just hit a guy at a movie theater. I'm not a psychopath. So, but she doesn't help. She stands up and she's like, Michael, let's go. So then he hears my name. So he's like, Michael, it's cool. Michael, we're fine. Michael, we're okay. The guy who's trying to be cool. But his doltish friend is just sitting there drooling, staring at me. And I'm like, do something. Fucking do something, pal. Because you will wind up on the third fucking floor getting electroshock therapy every fucking Tuesday because I am about to put you in a goddamn hospital. I am fucking furious at this guy. And I just, but I'm not crazy. I'm not going to lose it on him unless he fucking, I'm waiting for him to just come over the aisle. That's all. Just stand up and make a move. And that's fucking great because I am just going to punch you right in the mustache. It's going to happen. But Ponytail's trying to calm me down with my own name, which is not good because I don't want to hear my goddamn name at this point from anybody but my wife. But actually, I don't even want to hear it from my wife. Don't stand up because then it's like, it's very much, your woman's calling you, man. Your woman's calling you, man. This fight's over. Your lady's telling you got to go. Like, it's just a weird dynamic. So she stands up, and I'm like, all right, well, let's go. So we split. We left, man, like 20 minutes into the movie. And we go walking out. As we're walking out, two ushers walk in. One of them's walking up the stairs. The other one's at the bottom. And I go, I stop and I go, hey, I'm leaving. I go, I'm going to get my money back because I can't deal with this. There's 4 guys who won't stop talking. I've told them 3 times. And he goes like, who are they? What are they? And I go, well, one of you guys already told them to stop talking. So I don't know why there isn't a report. But it's those 4 people over there. You know who it is? It's the people that everyone is turning and pointing at and staring at. You'll probably know it's them. And he's like, cool. We went downstairs and got our the guy. And they're like, do you want passes or do you want your money back? And I just want passes. But then I told my buddy, and he's like, you should get passes and your money back. I'm like, why? It's not their fault. I mean, it's not like 4 employees sat in front of me and acted like jagoffs. You know, I mean, it was just this. It's the general public. You can't police against the general public. So that happened. That was my crazy, angry wife freaking out. And it was funny because that was yesterday. No, it was like 2 days ago. Yeah, it was Thursday, and which was a great day otherwise because the Phillies won. I was excited that the Phillies win Game 1, but then we went to rock and roll and almost wound up in a throwdown. Disappointing. By the way, I'm in Vegas as you hear this, folks. I don't know if I mentioned that to you. I'm in Vegas, boring people with jokes about slot machines. That's fantastic. You know what? Go to MikeSchmidtComedy.com and look. There's clips of me. I think there's stuff about Vegas. I'll be doing those jokes. Some of those will be being done. So if you want to pretend that you're with me, go watch me do those bits about the skinny dipping pool. Go ahead and check that out. That's going to get unveiled this week. And if you're coming to the show, don't go because I need you to laugh at it. I've had some people write me actually who said they're coming, so that'll be fun. And by the time you read this, they will have come and stormed out, furiously angry. Luckily, they're not going to hear this. Oh, well, actually, this will come out when I'm in Vegas midweek. So if they come to the later shows, maybe they'll start like talking like during my show just to be dicks and see if I lose it. Oh, the perils of being the bear in the cage. So you know what? I want to say this because the Phillies are up 2-0, and I'm hoping they can win 2 more. That would be fantastic and go to the World Series. And I mentioned this story last week, and then people wrote me and were like, well, why didn't you tell that story? So I'll tell this story. This is just, and again, it's nothing. It's just brace yourself. There's there's a payoff, but I don't know if nobody gets hit. Let's put it that way. Everybody usually, in my story, usually there's either just, flying jizz or somebody gets punched or I wind up eating an entire roast. But that doesn't happen in this story. This story is this is more along the lines of Chunky 8 humiliation. So, as a youth, I became a Philadelphia Phillies fan in like 1976. I know 75 because I was in Catholic school. And Sister Arlene said, hey, did you know that there's a guy named Mike Schmidt who plays for the Pittsburgh Pirates? And I said, no, I didn't know that. And then I immediately checked the newspaper and found out that she doesn't know anything about sports. She plays for the Philadelphia Phillies. So I'm like, well, Christ, I'm a huge Phillies fan now at 8 years of age or 7 years of age. And then the Phillies would come to Chicago, and I would see them. Mike Schmidt owned Wrigley Field. It was so great to watch him, and so I've been a Phillies fan since I was a kid because of Mike Schmidt, the baseball player. So, in 1983, when our hero was 16, and that would be me, your hero, I I was going to go to Wrigley Field on Mike Schmidt's birthday, September 27th, 1983. Because I wanted to meet Mike Schmidt. And also that day, if the Phillies were to win, they would clinch a tie for the division title. Because that was the year that they had like Pete Rose and Joe Morgan and Tony Perez and all these old guys, and they made a miraculous run to the pennant. They actually went to the World Series that year. So I was going to go to Wrigley Field and meet Mike Schmidt. I said, this is it. This is the day I go and I meet Mike Schmidt, and I'll be like, hey, look, I'm Mike Schmidt. You're Mike Schmidt. Here's my name, your name. We're friends, and aren't we great? Because when you're 16, you think that's going to happen. So a family friend, nobody would go with me. I forget, because we had school. I had to ditch school to go, basically. And I actually got permission from my mom to ditch school to go. Because my mom was probably high. I have no idea why there was permission. But a family friend named Eddie was going to take me down there. And by family friend, I mean junkie my mom knew. So he was a guy, he was one of my mom's friends who was in and out of jail. You know what I mean? We'd always hear, hey, I don't know if you know about Eddie. He got drunk and hit a cop. Great. Is he going to be out in time to take me to the Cub game? So that was Eddie. So just Eddie and I go down to Wrigley, and we go early. So I actually meet the Phillies bus. So I'm going to meet Mike Schmidt, man. I'm there. I'm waiting. Phillies bus shows up. The Phillies come charging off the bus. That doesn't sound right. They didn't come charging off the bus. How weird would that be? They just come running. They come barreling through everybody, just throwing elbows like crazy moshers. No, they're nice people, and they come off, and I meet Gary Maddox, and I'm meeting Phillies. They're all very nice. Guillermo Willie Hernandez is there, and I meet him. He actually, I don't think is a Philly at the time, but he winds up being a Philly later and winning the Cy Young Award, having an amazing year with the Phillies. He might have been a Cub at the time. I don't remember. But whatever, I still have his autograph on the ticket stub. Let's put it that way. So then Steve Carlton gets off the bus. Now, Steve Carlton is the greatest left-handed pitcher who ever lived. Fuck you and your Sandy Koufax. So, no, I'm sure Sandy Koufax was amazing. I didn't see him growing up. Warren Spahn, whatever. But, for me, Steve Carlton was, the greatest left-handed pitcher besides Randy Johnson. Whatever. I'm not going to get into this argument with anybody but myself. I love Steve Carlton. Let's put it that way. Steve Carlton, Hall of Fame left-handed pitcher. Also notorious for not talking to the press, ever. By the way, if you want to see an interesting picture of Steve Carlton, Google him and try to find the picture of him breaking an arrow against his neck. When I was a kid, that made a vivid impression on me. He was like a martial arts guy, or he studied at like a TM or something, and he takes an arrow and he puts it against his Adam's apple, and he bends it and bends it and bends it, and then it snaps. He breaks an arrow by pointing the arrowhead into his throat and snaps it. That's how fucking tough Steve Carlton was, and that's why he's the greatest left-handed pitcher who ever lived. So, you know what? Take that, Randy Johnson, right in your face. So, take that, Randy Jones. He's not even in the argument. I just throw him in because it's fun. Randy Jones, former San Diego Padre, had one good year, but yet I throw him into the best left-hander of all time mix. Why not? Suck on that, Steve Trout. Steve Trout, by the way, will play a part in this story. So anyway, I'm at the game. Steve Carlton gets off the bus. Notoriously hates the media. Doesn't talk to anybody. Gets off the plane. The plane. Yeah, they landed a plane right outside of Wrigley. They taxied it in right by the firehouse. Right at the Cubby Bear. On the helipad. So they pull up in the bus. They get off. Steve Carlton gets off. Could not have been nicer. The nicest man. Stops, talks to people, signs autographs, friendly, smiling the entire time, just pleasant and wonderful to be around. And because all we hear about Carlton at the time is that he's this horrible, horrible guy, and he comes off and he's really friendly and nice. And it's a good thing that he was friendly and nice, because it provided cover for Mike Schmidt to run into Wrigley Field and not talk to anybody. I'm standing there, and because I'm waiting for Mike Schmidt to get off the bus, and it's great to see these other guys that are all my heroes, and I love the Phillies, but I'm there to see Mike Schmidt. And as I'm talking to Carlton, and I'm talking, and Steve Maddox is there, or Gary Maddox is there, and everyone is very nice. Pete Rose stops and talks to people. Pete Rose is talking to people. Joe Morgan, they're all there. They're talking to people. John Denny, a nice man. And as they're greeting the fans, Mike Schmidt gets off the bus and doesn't. He just does this 1,000-yard stare, ignores everybody, and goes right into the fucking stadium. So I'm like, really? And I'm like, Mr. Schmidt, and he's gone. He runs. And but everybody else is still friendly and nice. But here's the thing: I have an ace in the hole. I'm there early, so I'm there for batting practice. I have seats right at the Phillies on deck circle, second row, box seats. I mean, because the Cubs blow at this time. It's September 27, 1983. The Cubs are horrendous, so the place is going to be empty. So I wind up scoring these amazing seats. So I'm going to sit there and I'm going to see batting practice, and I'm going to wait for Mike Schmidt. So I'm there, and I get into the stadium, and I'm right by the dugout, and it's amazing to be that close, especially in Wrigley because it's so small. So everybody's there, and they're milling about, and they're doing their batting practice, and the Phillies are out for batting practice, and they're being very nice. And Mike Schmidt comes out of the dugout, and as I'm standing there, I'm with Eddie, who he's got a buzz cut and a flask. I mean, maybe that's why I'm not meeting Mike Schmidt, because he can see that I'm with Johnny Two Strikes. And so I'm waiting for Mike Schmidt. And in addition to me waiting for Mike Schmidt, there's like a 9-year-old kid who has a handmade sign that says, "Happy birthday, Mike Schmidt." And it's got like pictures of him playing baseball and his baseball card. And he's standing on a chair waiting for Mike Schmidt to come out. And it's his birthday. Again, I have his name. And so I went up talking to the parents of the kid, and they're just like, "Shut up, dirtbag, and your flannel. Nobody wants to talk to you at all. Our son is here to meet Mike Schmidt." So the Phillies are there, and then Mike Schmidt comes out of the dugout, and he looks right at us, sees the kid with the sign, and he just goes, "How you doing?" and turns around and walks off. Doesn't come over, doesn't sign anything, doesn't say, "Oh, look at the young man with a nice sign." And even the kid says, "Mike, Mike," like literally out of a Coke commercial where Joe Green throws him his jersey. "Mike, Mike," holding the sign. Mike Schmidt turns on a fucking heel and goes right to take batting practice. Takes batting practice, goes right back into the dugout. Done. Adios. Mike Schmidt doesn't even make eye contact with anybody. He wants nothing to do with anyone. And you know what? If you know anything about him, when you read about him, he was a real uptight, like all business type of ball player. So maybe they were going to clinch the division, and that's why he was like that. Who fucking knows? All I know is there's an 8-year-old kid with a sign with your name on it saying "Happy Birthday." Stop and say thanks. That's all you got to do. Even if you could ignore me and my giant head, I don't care. At the time, I care. At the age of 16, I'm sure I freak out. But now when I look back at it, I'm like, well, that to me, the biggest transgression is to avoid that little kid. I don't understand why you do that. So I'm upset. I'm not happy that Mike Schmidt hasn't stopped to talk to me. So I also was kind of a heckler as a kid.
No.
Like when we would go to baseball games and stuff. Like one time we went to Comiskey Park. And there was a guy named Darryl Porter who was a player for the Kansas City Royals. And he went through drug rehab. And this is at a time when that was rare. So he was there, and we threw aspirin at him, like the entire game. Like just after he came back from rehab. Like we threw aspirin. It wasn't nice. But that's, again, when you're a kid, you think that's hysterical. One day we were seeing the Orioles play the White Sox, and I'm really loud. Like that's another thing is my voice is crazy loud, and it carries. So we happened to be we didn't have great seats in Comiskey, but then we snuck down because there was a rain delay and everybody left, so we were really close to the field. And for some reason, I decided that Joe Nolan was a jagoff. Joe Nolan was a player on the Orioles. He's like a backup catcher. He never played, but he's in the game, and I'm dominating Joe Nolan. I mean, I am just like, "Hey, I hope you enjoy your at-bat this week, Nolan, you punk." I'm just like, and not swearing, but just yelling the worst, like, "Hey, Nolan, why are you even in the majors?" And my friends are dying. We're dying. We think it's hysterical. Even the usher comes to tell us, like, to be quiet, but he's laughing. Like, he can't stop laughing because I'm loud. Like, I mean, you could hear it because there's nobody in the park. There might be, 4,000 people in the park, and But that was what I would do is I would pick a guy that nobody would ever hassle. Like, why would you ever hassle Joe Nolan? It makes no sense, but that was my target. And I just buried Joe Nolan one day at Comiskey. I did it in Chicago Stadium one time. It was my little brother Andy had it in him too. We went to the Bulls in Utah, and my little brother just decided Larry Kristoviak needed to be taken down a peg. Kristoviak's a white guy on the bench. He's doing nothing to anybody. And my brother Andy's just like, "Kristoviak's a bum. Krzysztofiak, you are a slob. I mean, just letting him have it to the point where you can see their bench laughing because they're like, who is yelling at Larry Krzysztofiak? That's the best part, is to take off and just really hammer a guy who doesn't deserve it at all. So I've let Nolan have it, and I've got Porter in my back pocket. So we're at Chicago. We're at Wrigley Field. Cubs come out to take batting practice. And Jody Davis puts on a show. Jody Davis is hitting bombs, just crushing the ball. And the Cubs are out there taking batting practice. Larry Boa is out there. He's at the cage. So Ron Cey comes out to take batting practice. Ron Cey, third baseman, known as the Penguin, famous with the Dodgers, played with the Cubs. He comes out to play, to take batting practice. And I just start letting Cey have it because I'm like frustrated that Mike Schmidt didn't come out, but also the park is empty. And I'm loud anyway, but I'm like right on the field. I'm really close. So I'm hammering Ron Cey. I'm just like, hey, Ron Cey. Hey, I'm just like, I'm glad the Phillies are here because there's a real third baseman in town. Huh, Ron Cey? Yeah, we finally got an all-star at the position. You know what? You've been over there, mucking it up forever. Blah, blah. I can't remember what I said, but it was bad. I mean, I was just all over Cey. Again, not swearing. That was my whole deal. Was because then if they ever came and yelled at me, I'd go, well, I'm not being vulgar or anything. I'm just being a jerk. Because that was any sort of argument. So Ron Cey is taking batting practice, and they're all, the Cubs are out there, and I'm loud to the point where they're looking at me. They're just like, why is this happening? Like, who is this kid who's decided to launch on Ron Cey? So Ron Cey's in the cage, and he's taking a couple of swings. Finally, he takes a swing, and he puts his hand up to the pitcher, and I'm yelling. I'm letting him have it. He puts his hand up. He walks out of the batting cage, and he points the bat at me, and he goes, you think you could do any better? And I freeze. I completely freeze because, again, I'm mouthy and all that kind of stuff, but I'm not ready for a discussion with Ron Cey. This is a one-sided conversation with me and the idea of Ron Cey. This is a two-dimensional Ron Cey accepting my abuse and going, thank you, sir, I appreciate that. It's my job to listen to you when you yell at me. It's not a discussion. It's not my dinner with Cey. It's not my dinner with the Penguin. So he walks out of the batting cage, and he points the bat at me, and he goes, you think you could do any better? And I freeze. I don't know what to do or say. My mouth is open. And again, I'm a fat kid with a bunch of hair. I mean, he could have destroyed me if he wanted. But just that sentence was enough to put me completely on my heels. And I just, and he goes, do you? You think you could do any better? And I can't even process it. And he goes, yeah, I didn't think so. Shut up. Turns around, gets back in the batting cage. Larry Boa dying. Larry Boa laughing his ass off because Cey calls out this fat kid. I mean, just let it. I mean, literally walked over to me, points the bat at me, and lets me have it. Yeah, I didn't think so. Shut up. Shut up. Ron Cey told me to shut up. And I'm like, I'm frozen. I don't know what to do. And all the, Cub fans that are around me, there's barely any, but there's enough. And they're just like, they're hammering me now. They're like, way to go, tough guy. Way to really back up your position. That was your chance. I mean, I don't know. What if I'd have said yes? Like, would he have let me take a few swings? I mean, I don't know what was going to happen. But Cey tells me to shut up. That's what he does. Brutal. Just hammers me. So I slump down. I'm just like, I'm completely defeated. No Mike Schmidt. Called out by Ron Cey. This day could not get any worse. At least the Phillies are going to win and clinch the division. That'll be great. I'm here for it. It's good because the Cubs blow. And also, Rick Russell is pitching, who's just like, Rick Russell had some great years later in his career, but when he was at the Cubs, he was just kind of a guy who got the job done. So I'm like, and Steve Carlton was pitching. So I'm like, Steve Carlton's going to dominate the Cubs. It's going to be fantastic. But again, I can't shake the fact that Cey blasted me. I'm like, what's going to happen here? Second inning. Off Steve Carlton, Keith Moreland singles. Keith Moreland's on base. Ron Cey comes up and hits a 2-run home run. And all of the people around my section are pointing at me and yelling at me. They are just like, dude, and they're just like, and Ron Cey, I swear to God, he does the trot, his weird penguin trot, comes around third base, steps on home plate, claps twice, points at me, and turns to go into the dugout. Ron Say hits a 2-run homer off Steve Carlton, best left-handed pitcher I'd ever seen in my life. And then I'm like, well, that's okay. The Cubs are going to hammer Rick Russell. Rick Russell gets hurt. The Cubs bring in Steve Trout, the previously aforementioned Steve Trout, who I just made fun of as a bum left-hander. I think he throws 5 shutout innings, and the Cubs win 3-0. Phillies don't even score. Mike Schmidt strikes out like 3 times. I'm sitting there, frozen. I don't even know what to do. It was like the big thing. The Phillies are going to clinch. I'm going to meet Mike Schmidt. Nothing. Not only don't I meet Mike Schmidt, not only do the Phillies not win or clinch the division or clinch a tie for the division, but I am upbraided by Ron Say, who then beats the Phillies single-handedly with a 2-run home run and points at me when he's finished. And I think I still have the videotape of him coming around, stepping on the plate, clapping twice, and pointing at me and going into the dugout. Unbelievable. That was my Cubs-Phillies story. That was the story I was going to tell if the Cubs played the Phillies in the playoffs, because it would have been a lot funnier and more relevant. But instead I tell it now, hoping that the Phillies somehow win the World Series this year and salve the wounds that have festered for 25 years, courtesy of the Penguin Ron Say. You guys can write me at mike@MikeSchmidtComedy.com or at myspace.com/MikeSchmidtComedy. I want to remind you guys that I will be hosting the Monday Night Tease Burlesque Show, October 20th. Go to MondayNightTease.com, or I will actually post links and stuff like that in a communique this week, so go ahead and check that out. Go ahead and see what's happening. We're going to the Monday Night Tease October 20th. It is Heroes and Villains Night. I am neither, but I will be I will be the MC checking it out and hosting it, and it should be a lot of fun. So please, also, you know what? 30 episodes. I guess it's not a milestone of any kind or anything, but it's nice that you guys have hung around this long. I do appreciate it very much. I want to thank you guys for listening and subscribing. I want to thank Lily for picking up the mantle when it looked like the show was going to be ending, and I'm glad that she's gone ahead and run with it and helped me out as much as that she has, and more so than you could ever know. I thank you so much for having my lady friend involved. And again, why not? Let's just thank Eric Butterfield, because without him, there is no show. Without Eric Butterfield, there is absolutely no Mike Schmidt podcast. So I want to thank him again for all of the work that he did, and wish him luck in his new job that he has, and also with his new family that's about to happen. So, yeah, Mike at MikeSchmidtComedy.com, MySpace.com/MikeSchmidtComedy. Go ahead and subscribe in iTunes. Go to ComedyFilmNerds.com. I have 1 or 2 pieces up there, probably a new one by the time you hear this. I have no idea. This show is the lag time is so crazy. I'm recording this on a Saturday. It's going to be up on next Wednesday. I have no idea what's happening. So there might be something in Comedy Film Nerds. There might not. But if there's not, go enjoy the old pieces I've written, because they're all fantastic and they still hold up. And while you're there, go ahead and buy a bunch of stuff and enjoy it. And speaking of buying stuff, what the hell? Let's do this. Go to the MySpace, or go to MikeSchmidtComedy.com and go to the store link and buy season 1 of Never Not Funny. That was a season that I was involved in, and then the show got good. But you can go and listen to me speaking in much smaller bites and with other funny people. So go ahead and hear that I actually can avoid the stilted weirdness of the opening of this show with me and Lily. Go listen to what it was like when I would actually speak with people who cared about talking to me, instead of just thinking about, man, I got to get off here and read this catalog that I have in front of me. So go ahead and buy Never Not Funny Season 1, because, again, Christmas is coming. Also, Thanksgiving's coming. Makes a nice Thanksgiving turkey stuffer stocking thing. So go ahead and buy that. Buy it for, and also Halloween is coming up. Buy it for Halloween. Give it away to kids. That's a good idea. Go ahead and buy the first season of Never Not Funny, and when kids are like trick or treat, it's like, whoa, look, here's 60 episodes. You know what? Just give them episode 60. That'll really scare them. Although they'll have no reference point. You have to give them the whole season, because then when they listen to the whole season, they'll be like, this isn't scary at all. This is like funny and enjoyable. I like it. And then when they get to episode 60, they'll be like, oh, there's the scary part. That guy's gone. Oh my God, is that scary? I don't know why I've turned into Norm Macdonald during that bit. There was that was scary. That guy's gone. Ha. That was my Norm Macdonald. But Halloween is coming. Yeah, so give it away for Halloween. That's a great plan. I think that's perfect. Halloween, all the Halloween candy's out, and we went to Walgreens, and Karen, I love Walgreens. I don't know why, it's sad. Like Karen and I, that's our like fun time. We go to Walgreens and walk around. So we're walking around in Walgreens, and they had candy corn, and then they have like 9 different kinds of candy corn now. They used to just have candy corn. So they had candy corn, and then they had Indian candy corn, and they had caramel candy corn, and then they had caramel apple candy corn. I said, well, that's it. I'm in. Double flavor candy corn, absolutely. So I buy it, and I got it home, and I ate it. And here's the thing. It does taste like caramel apple, but it doesn't matter because it's still like eating a fucking candle. Candy corn is horrible. It's horrible. It's like eating just like a pile of wax. And it has a caramel apple essence, but you know what it is? It's like eating a scented candle now. Before it was just like eating a candle. Now it's like eating a scented candle. You're like, oh my God, this is kind of caramely and kind of appley, and yet it tastes like something I should melt and put on my balls. I mean, honestly, it is just the worst ever stuff that you could possibly choke down. I am not a fan of candy corn, folks. And again, I was never a fan of candy corn. And then a caramel apple lured me back on the candy corn bus. And then you know what? Fuck it. Let's crash this bus into a wall because I am not on board with caramel apple candy corn. As much fun as it is to say, CACC, caramel apple candy corn. I choked it down. I had a few of them, and I just went, oh, Jesus Christ. Because I always buy weird stuff. That's my deal. I like buying weird stuff. I bought these new macaroni and cheese crackers. I ate those. They're awful. All of this is garbage. Why am I eating all this garbage? We're going tonight for dinner to a place that the reason I wanted to go has a bacon-flavored chocolate candy bar as a dessert. That's why I'm going to this place. I mean, the rest of it all looked good, and pork belly and quail and nonsense. I don't give a fuck what I order. I could close my eyes and point at anything on the menu as long as I got that fucking bacon chocolate bar choked down. But the fact is they were like, hey, there's bacon and everything, and I said, well, I'm in. I'm a dick, folks. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a decent guy because I am a jerk. And I'm not a jerk. Man, I'm an awful guy. I'm not an awful guy. I am not a good guy. But I don't think I'm a bad person overall. So, and go ahead and by all means judge that. I'm kind of a jagoff. I got no future. What am I talking about? But I am a jagoff. And I'm not a jerk. I'm a nice guy. It's just I guess I have jerky tendencies. I've done so much ridiculous stuff, and then I wonder afterwards, I'm like, man, how come I don't hang out with anybody? Here's why, because you're a dick. You're finished. You're finished. You're finished. You're finished. You're finished. You're finished. You're finished.